Welcome to the What's Your Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. What is good, revolutionaries? You know, I love saying that. I told my folks we're going to make a t-shirt, What's Good, Revolutionary? So when you walk up to folks, they know that you are revolutionary and they know that they are revolutionary. And so I'm asking you this question, my favorite question, not our signature question yet, but my favorite question, what's good, revolutionaries? I am hoping that you're walking in your work, you're walking in faith, that you're walking in your presence, that you're walking in your revolution. And I say that all the time at the recording of this show. It is November, and I've been saying this for a long time. It's fourth quarter. Have you sent your goals out to your folks, right? Have you found your accountability partners? Are you asking folks where you need help? Who can stand in the gap for you folks? Right, because revolutions are not just for you. As the prophet, I'm gonna call him prophet on the show, Sean Dove says, who are your midwives, right? Who are helping you bring out this revolution in the world? And you're gonna see when you see who I get to talk to today, you're gonna see like this brother has been one of my midwives, and he didn't even know it, right? He didn't even know it, but I've been knowing this brother for almost 30 years, and my journey as Omega began in 1994, and I talk at length about my love of my beloved Omega Psi Phi, my beloved New Orleans, all the things that meaningful. My dad's fraternity, right? As you know, I talk about my dear Rudder, my father, Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And there are some brothers that you meet, right? You know right away when you meet them that they're, one, going to be a part of your life for a long time, and two, they are going to teach you, they are going to care for you, they are going to lead you. And when I met Brother Eddie Richardson, right, look, that fateful spring day in 1994 under the tree at Gamma Epsilon chapter of Hampton University, I knew then, even though, you know, I was a young pup with sand on myself and sand behind my ears, that this brother was going to be, you know, a sage in my life. And he has been, and I've been calling him the OG because that is what he is. Eddie Richardson, my dude, wonderful man of Omega. And when you hear his story today, you're going to be like, yeah, I definitely understand. We're just going to jump right in, brother. Look, it is good to see you. Look, and for those who are visually inclined, when you get to see this brother, right, he looked like one of the 5 heartbeats. You know what I'm saying? He looks like one of the 5 heartbeats. Got his hair all slicked back. You know what I'm saying? He must be using some Scotch Porter on his skin. You know what I'm saying? His wife takes care of him. You know, he is looking good. I'm going to let this brother tell you how old he is. I think he said he was 100 in the green room, but he looks like he's 25. But he is my dude. Eddie, OG. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
Good evening, brother. How are you? I am doing very well. I am blessed to be able to be standing upright and breathing. I tell my friends in the health community all the time, you know, it's a good day when the Lord gives you an opportunity to open your eyes and to put breath into your lungs and to be mobile and to be agile. And so I am just thankful and blessed to be here, brother.
Man, it is a blessing. It is a blessing to have you, like you said, being upright. And as we've seen over the last couple of years, we have lost some of our sturdy trees, right, to a host of different things that have come along and actually cut down some of the most rewarding, the most thought-provoking, the most thought leaders that we have in our space because of different ailments and different diseases. And we're going to talk about something that really impacts every man, right? For us to think about what our prostate health is, right? That's right. I said it. I said the P word, our prostate, and what it means for us to take care of our overall health. But as we get older as men, this is a show for men and the people who love them. But today we're going to have this conversation about prostate health and prostate cancer and why it's so important for us as men to go get tested, right? To be conscious about our prostate health and about what goes on, because it leads to our overall health and it leads to our overall longevity. But we'll get to that conversation in a second, right? Brother said he was blessed. Let me just ask this question off the bat so my revolutionaries can know who you are. Who is Eddie Richardson? Please tell the world, brother. I'm excited. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Tell us about your mama, your people, all those things, bro.
Sure. Like you said, I'm Eddie Richardson. I'm 56 years old. And my hometown is Danville, Virginia, a little small town right on the Virginia-North Carolina border. I was born and raised there, went to high school there. While in high school, I had a really good track career. And I initially out of high school, went to Virginia State University for a year, and then I transferred to Clemson University on a track scholarship. And so I ran track there and became a member of our beloved organization at Clemson University in fall of 1987. And after I graduated, I started life. Just trying to figure my way out. And that's how I sort of found my way to Hampton, Virginia. I had an uncle that lived here, and I came here looking for employment and, got a job here and, eventually met the love of my life and Donna. And I've been with her. We just celebrated 24 years, June the 6th.
Nice. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. And she and I have my son EJ, and I also have a daughter as well. Her name is Prostate, and she is 35 years old. And I have 2 grandchildren with her, and so that's sort of my family situation in a nutshell. But I love them all dearly. And, as I've gone through life and especially since I've gone through this process, they've been here, and they've known everything, every step of the way, as I've gone through it. I felt that it was important that any and everything that's gone on with me, especially as it relates to my health, they should know first and foremost. And so I've been, just as I am with most people that I know, and then people that I don't know as well, an open book as it pertains to my disease and my situation.
Yeah, no, brother, I appreciate it. One thing I love when brothers come on the show and talk about the importance of family, right? And what it means. And everyone who knows, listens to the show, Brother Richardson, I talk about our ability to self-actualize on this show. And like you said, you brought up your wife, 24 years. That's a wonderful thing in your family. And as we move into this conversation about prostate health and prostate cancer, to move through the space when you've been diagnosed with cancer, having to battle something with the people that love you the most is important. It is important for us to be the best version of ourselves, even in times of strife and challenge, when you can look to the left, when you can look to the right, dear brother, and say, someone's got you, right? Someone's got you. That I've got to go through this revolution in my life that is probably the most challenging thing that I've ever had to go through. But I know that there are midwives. I know that there are people who are going to walk this journey with me. It is an amazing thing. So I'm just going to dive in. Like I said, we're going to talk about prostate cancer. It's November, and we're thinking about prostate health and our overall health. You were diagnosed with prostate cancer. We talked about this at 45 years old, right? And you said 56, man. The brother looks good. But at 45 years old, you've got the world in front of you. You've got a family. You're a robust man of Omega. You're out in the world making change and impact. And then one day you walk into the doctor's office and the doctor says, Brother Richardson, you have prostate cancer. Can you walk us through that journey, the before getting the diagnosis and the after? What was that like for you?
I can, but let me just share this as well. And I didn't put this in my bio, but my wife is also a cancer survivor. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2000.
Wow.
And so that was 3 years after our son EJ. And so I was her caregiver. And her accountability partner. And so I went through those experiences firsthand with her as we went through that journey.
Yes.
And so she's doing exceptionally well. She hasn't had any relapses since. And so the day that I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I felt like the world just dropped. It's a strange story. I was one that was vigilant about going to the doctor, and life got in the way, and I missed 2 years of physicals.
Wow.
And my father passed in 2011. And as we were sitting around the table making arrangements for my father, it hit me, Eddie, you haven't been to the doctor. And so at the conclusion of making those arrangements, I walked out of the funeral home and called and set my appointment.
Yeah.
And I went and I had my full physical. And when I got my PSA results, they were alarming. And that's the prostate specific antigen results. My PSA, normal PSAs usually are 2 or below for men.
Right.
My last one was a 1.8 at the last appointment that I had. And so at this physical, it was 12.2.
Wow.
Which was very concerning. And this was
Yes.
2 years that this had occurred. And so I immediately I talked to my wife and I said, we got to get to a urologist and see what's going on.
Yes.
And so we went to a urologist and he said, well, initially don't be alarmed. He said, we're going to have you come back in 60 to 90 days and we'll check it again. It may just be, prostatitis or some inflammation, but we're going to check it and see. And so I went back for the follow-up and it had gone to 13.3. So it had actually increased from 12.2. And so we did a biopsy. And when they do the biopsy, they segment your prostate into 6 sections. And so they evaluate where there is cancer, to see where there is cancer. And I had cancer evident in 5 of the 6 sections of my prostate that they had looked at. And so, at that point, we made some decisions and talked about some options. And I made the decision that I wanted to have what's considered a radical prostatectomy. I wanted to have surgery. And so
Right.
I scheduled my surgery within about 120 days from when.
Gotcha. Eddie, can I hate to cover, there's so much that I want to unpack there before we move on to the rest of the story. Because I can hear my revolutions in my ear, like, wait. 5 of the 6 sections had cancer. You went from 1.8 to 12.2 to then 13.3. Did you feel any symptoms? Did anything feel wrong? Was there blood in your urine? Were you having, bone pain? Were you having difficulty urinating? Was there anything that said that this was going on in your body?
Brother, I had absolutely no symptoms.
Wow.
None.
And that's the scary thing about this disease, right? The scary thing about this disease, you're going along in life, right? And nothing, almost silent. If you don't go and get your PSA checked, and it used to be, and I know one of the stigmas around why brothers weren't going to get their prostates checked because it was the DRE. Right. It was the digital rectal exam. Right. And right. When I say digital, it's not an electronic. It is this. It is your digit. It is your finger. It is urologist's finger. Right. Right. Going up your behind. Right. To massage your prostate. Right. For it to secrete so they can then test.
Exactly.
So I'm glad they've come up with a revolutionary way to test it through your blood. But I know many men in our own masculinity were like, nah, ain't nobody sticking there anything anywhere so they can test. So I'm just going to go, all right. So thank you for saying that there were no symptoms to this.
There were no symptoms at all. And I'll say this as well, while I was going through the process of, getting the exam, because my physician, he advocated for that. I thought of prostate cancer as an older person's disease. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed that I realized that there was a prevalence of prostate cancer, higher prevalence of prostate cancer in African American men. And so while the baseline in science may say 50 for African American men, there's a lot of literature that says that they should start at 40.
Wow.
And if there's family history, in which I did not have family history, A lot of times, some of the literature out there will say that it's paternal. So if your father or your uncles on your father's side, someone on your father's side of the family has prostate cancer, there's a higher evidence of that. My dad died of congestive heart failure. Didn't have issues with prostate cancer. So it was a complete shock that I was diagnosed. And in being here in the area, and I've been with Brother Charlie Hill, who's the head of Hampton Roads Prostate Health Cancer Forum. Here in Hampton Roads, there is a higher prevalence of African American men being diagnosed with prostate cancer than any other area of the country.
Wow. Any reason for that? Any correlative variables that might indicate why?
We can't.
Is it in the water? Something in the water?
I know. We can't figure
like, I'm not drinking that water. I'm not drinking that water anymore.
It was a strange thing to me, and then we were part of a pilot project with the Hampton University Proton Therapy Center and the Prostate Cancer Forum a few years ago, just trying to do a pilot project and educating men on that. And when I saw those statistics, it just kind of blew my mind that there was a higher, and I don't know if that's because there is more advocacy here and there are more African American men that are going and actually getting tested, and so the data is trending that way. I don't know, and more men are finding out that they have it, or if it's something that's organic that was causing it. I'm just not sure. But
so that's so interesting to me.
My diagnosis was a complete shock.
Wow. So let's move the conversation back. You said 5 of the 6 sections were cancerous, right? And you right. And so you decided to have a prostatectomy. So go ahead, talk about that. Talk about this next phase of the journey for you.
Sure. And so, what they do is, when they evaluate your prostate and when they find cancer, they give you what's called a Gleason score. And so that's based on the amount of cancer that is found. And so the higher the Gleason score, the more likelihood that the cancer may be more aggressive. And there's an opportunity or likelihood that the cancer may have spread outside of the prostate. And so basically the timetable for making a decision as to what your actions are going to be are based on that Gleason score. And so my Gleason scores are fairly high. And so, again, we wanted to give my body an opportunity to heal from the biopsy, which yielded the cancerous result. So we did my surgery probably, like I said, about 120 days or so from the time that I had my biopsy. We scheduled the radical prostatectomy. And so we did it with a machine called the Vinci machine. And so there were 5 ports that were put into my abdomen. And so the physician removed my prostate using that procedure. It's a fairly common procedure, and a number of brothers, continue to use that procedure that, now. But depending on where you are in the country and depending on the access to technology, there are probably a dozen or more different therapies or different treatments for prostate cancer. Some gentlemen don't want the surgery. Some gentlemen may want to do radioactive seeds. Or
exactly.
They want to do radiation. Or, here we have the Hampton University Proton Therapy Center. And so, some gentlemen, pursue proton therapy. It just depends on personal choice. For me, with my age, my physician advocated for the surgery to, give me an opportunity to try to spare some of the muscles that, control the penis, because, depending on the type of surgery, it damages the nerves that are around the penis. And so functionality is one of those things that becomes an issue. And so, for some gentlemen, they're like, oh no,
exactly.
Going to do anything that's going to damage that member. And so, some men have lost their lives trying to protect that member. And my thing is, I want to keep my life, and we will do whatever is necessary.
Man, let me tell you, brother,
to continue forward with my life.
Yeah, brother. One, thank you. Like, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of our masculinity in this process.
Oh, yes.
Right. There's a lot of our masculinity as Black men in this process. And I don't care who you are listening to this show right now, white, Black, green, male, woman, trans, binary, whatever you listen, right? This is a health issue that we're thinking about, we're talking about. And for men, and for cisgender men, men, period. Right. And I take that just for men, period, who want to be sexually active. Right. No matter who you are. Thinking about this, and I'm even going to contextualize this even more. For Black men, a lot of times our sexuality is tied to our masculinity. It's been the literal talk about, it's the thing that we've held on to when society has ripped everything else from us. Right. I just said that out loud. It is the thing that, we've hold on so tightly, is that at the end of the day, I can rise up and I can go handle business. And we will protect that at all costs, right? At all costs. So I appreciate you saying that brothers have lost their lives in this process, ultimately by protecting the one thing that they think that they can hold on to. But in this sense, right, this could be the thing that kills you. And I thank you for saying that out loud, because I don't know many people who are talking about this, but this surgery can be deleterious. And you have to, and for some people, what I understand is that you're going to have to make a decision between your masculinity and your manhood and your ability to do the things that you used to do, or live. And what's more important. And we try to do them both. But I think that's so important, so thank you for sharing that.
Definitely.
So after is there anything else you want to add to that? Cause I've got 1,000 more questions now.
Well, we'll continue on, because the journey can, there was the diagnosis, there was the surgery, and then there was the post-surgery process, which sort of started this next journey.
That's what I want to talk about.
What I've gone through for the past 10 years, because, as I said to you earlier, I'm still in the fight.
Yes.
Because it wasn't a one and done for me, as far as getting the surgery and cancer be gone. I was one of those gentlemen that, after I had the surgery, after I healed from that process of being reconstructed, because when your prostate is removed, your prostate sits at the bottom of your bladder, okay? Mm-hmm. And so your urethra comes from your bladder through your prostate and out your penis.
Right.
And so when the prostate is removed, that section, your bladder has to be moved down, and your urethra has to be reconnected to the base of your bladder.
Wow.
Okay. And so for gentlemen that choose to have that surgery, for the first 10 to 12, 15 days after that surgery, they wear a catheter to give your urethra an opportunity to connect to your bladder. And so, that portion has to heal. And so in doing the surgery as well, the physicians try to save as many nerves and as many muscles as they can, so that, you'll have some type of functionality, with your penis or with your member, however you want to call it. So you'll have some type of functionality. And, so that's a process in and of itself. And then within 60 to 90 days of going through all of that, you have to go back and do another PSA exam to see where your PSA levels are.
Right.
And so for me, my first PSA was 0.5.
Okay. All right. Because you had me worried there for a second, like you about to tell me that it didn't change.
Well, it was supposed to be 0.0.
Okay.
It was 0.5. And so we said, okay, we'll come back in 60 days and see what's going on again. And so we went back and did another PSA, and it was 0.8. And so we went back to my urologist, and I'd had a gastro appointment. I was telling my gastro doctor, and so she said, I think you ought to go talk to an oncologist. And so she gave me a name. And so I went back to my urologist, and I said, hey, be straight with me. What's going on? And he said, I think you're having a reoccurrence. And this was within 6 months of going through that process of having the surgery and doing those things. And so I said, well, this is who I want to see. And he said, that's who I was going to recommend to you.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Mark Fleming with Virginia Oncology has been a godsend for me. He's been with me every step of the way for the last 10 years. And, I owe my life to God and to
Amen.
Dr. Fleming and the things that he's done over the years as we've gone through this process. And I've seen him every 90 days for the last 10 years to get to where I am now. And so I'll pause because I can go on.
No. So because I look, I know when people hear the show, they're going to be just as riveted to this conversation as I am now, because we talk about an arc of a story right now. And so you're leading us down this journey, right? 0.5, 0.8. Wait, now you got to go. So you were having a recurrence, right? Mm-hmm. You were having this. What is so let's define our terms. What does that mean? What was going on? Right? I don't want people to be lost in this journey here.
Sure.
What was happening?
So when my PSA was 0.5, that meant that the PSA was still detecting microscopic prostate cancer cells that were floating around in my body. And so, from the surgery, the cancer may have gotten outside of my prostate.
Yeah.
There may have been some cancerous tissue that was in some of the muscles or some of the nerve that they tried to spare when they were doing the surgery. It's just difficult to say. But we had to make some decisions about what to do. And so the next logical step was radiation. I didn't want to do radiation early on, because if I had chose radiation as the first therapy, it would have burned everything up and I would have had no other option.
Right.
If I had the surgery first, and then there was an issue, then the next logical step was radiation to try to, treat that area. And so I had 46 sessions of radiation. And I did that 5-6 days a week, over 7-8 week period. I did the radiation, and 30 days later, I took my PSA again, 0.8.
Are you kidding me?
And so, that was my journey. And so, my treatment plan with my oncologist at the time, again, because of my age, is called watchful waiting. We were just going to watch it. And we were going to watch my PSA. And one of the things that they evaluate when they watch your PSA is doubling time. How fast that PSA doubles. And if it doubles over a period of time, then that's evidence that the disease is growing. And so at that point, decisions have to be made as to whether or not you're going to start a hormonal or a chemical therapy. And so I knew that if I had started a hormonal therapy, there would have been side effects that would have impacted me. I was already obese. And so some of the side effects and the drug that they were going to use, which was a popular drug at the time, was an injection of a drug called Lupron.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Injection that you receive every 90 days. But weight gain, lethargy, impacting sexual ability and those types of things. And so there are a multitude of side effects that are a result of that particular therapy. And so I didn't want to do that. And my doctor, again, we didn't want to go there then. We just wanted to watch and wait. And so that's what we did. And so I went on a roller coaster ride of up and down PSAs. And if you look at my chart from 2012 up until about, I'd say 2017, 2018, it was up and down. I mean, it would be, 1.1. It would be 3. It would be 2. Whatever. It would be 5. And so my PSA was just up and down for years. And so, probably twice a year, 3 times a year, we would, I'd do a bone scan and I'd do a CT scan just to see if there were any hot spots or evidence of cancer that had metastasized anywhere in the body. And so, I went through this process again, every 90 days. Wow. There was this journey. And so all the anxiety and emotions of having to build myself up to go through this process of getting the PSA and then waiting 3 to 5 days to go back and get the results. It took me through something. But it was a story of my life because I was in the fight for my life. And again, I dealt with it, and my number one supporter, my number one cheerleader, and I give my wife all the praise because she was right here every step of the way, cheering me on and keeping me grounded when there were days that all I could do was just sit on the couch and sometimes just cry. It was it was an incredible thing. And so, fast forward to 2017, 2018, my PSA was over 10 and had no prostate. And so my doctor had been, he was a very forward-thinking physician. And there was a test, a specialized test, a PSMA PET scan that he was trying to get. And there were only certain hospitals in the country that had it. And he was trying to get me set up for this test to see if they could find metastasis in my body. And my insurance company refused it for a couple years. And in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, he was able to get the test sponsored in his office. And he was the sponsor for that test, and I was patient 0. And what they were trying to do with this test and with this trial was show that the old therapy that I had been getting, like I said, I mentioned a moment ago, I had been getting this radiation test and also this CT scan to see if there were hot spots. They were trying to show that the science was saying this wasn't working anymore. That this test was showing negative when the patient was positive. And in true form, I took that test and it was negative, but when I took the PSMA PET test, and at the time, my PSA was 20, I'll just say 22 plus.
Oh my, Eddie.
When I took that test, that PSMA PET scan, it showed evidence of metastasis. And so it showed I had 3 hot spots on my body, 3 sub-centimeter size areas of metastasis. In my left hip, my left belly, and my left lung. And so at that time, all the things that we had been talking about as to next steps in hormone therapy and those types of things, all of those things instantly went into effect.
Right.
Once there was the evidence of metastasis.
Wow.
And so I started a chemical treatment, or a chemical therapy, which is a combination of the drug Lupron, which is the injection, and a new pill that had been used for a gentleman later in the process called Erlata. And thank God for insurance, because it's $16,000 a month for 30 days of medicine. But I take 4 of those pills a day, and I get my Lupron shot every 90 days. And
wow.
So my PSA went from 22 plus to 0.04. And I have been there for 2 years.
Man, brother, wow. Like I'm sitting here listening, like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? To go through this journey, to the psychology of going through this yo-yo effect. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that I could drill down in here. The insurance game that we play around our health, right? Insurance is not there to heal you, because if it was, this would have been paid for and you would have been taken care of and all of the things. But that's a bigger conversation around big insurance and how, right? It's not in the cure. It's how much you pay and what they're willing to pay for.
Right.
That's a bigger, the psychology of being on that yo-yo, of going up and down, and like the realization, like, what's going on? I don't have a prostate.
Right.
And why is my PSA continuing to yo? And then to get from 10 to 22. When, as you say, if you remember this conversation, revolutionaries, he said a healthy PSA is between 0 and 2. Anything above 4, you're like, wait, what's going on? So now we've got a treatment plan. But anyone that knows Brother Richardson knows that a couple of years ago, you didn't look like this, right?
Right.
You look different. Like I said, he looks like one of the 5 heartbeats right now. When you see this, right? You wouldn't look, this infectious smile, this bright colored skin, this slick hair back. Like when you see it, he posted a picture the other day. Go to his IG. What's your IG, Eddie?
EJ Rich 2.
EJ Rich 2. He posted a picture the other day, like the before and after pics, right? He wanted a little thirst trap here. You know what I'm saying? Just a little thirst trap to show you where he's been and where he is now. If you remember, he said he was a track star. And then it pointed that he said he was obese, right? Look at this brother now. So it's 2020, right? You've gone through this. You said part of the Lupron was obesity, was weight gain.
Correct. That was a part.
Right.
And so, at the time that all of these things were coming together, I was at my heaviest. At the time, I was 253 pounds. And I said, I've got to make some changes. I have got to give my body an opportunity to fight as best it can. So I have to be the healthiest that I can in order to give myself a fighting chance. And so I started doing things on my own. And in April of 2020 or so, in the height of the pandemic, all I could do was walk and change my diet. And so, that was my exercise, just vigorous walking and changing my diet and, taking out some of the bad habits, finishing work and drinking all evening and snacking all evening and those kinds of things. I had to put that out the door. And so I lost between April and September of 2020, I lost about 20 to 25 pounds on my own. And then I came upon a program that some friends of mine were on. And I had been watching them. And with most internet-based programs, you're like, nah, they cut off the head and hyperimpose it onto the body. People just don't look like that. But I said I'm going to give this program a chance. The program is Eager to Motivate. It's founded by a gentleman named Jeff Witherspoon out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And the program at the time had been around a little more than a year. And it's billed to be an 8-week program, built on the tenets of diet and exercise. And so I said, I'm going to give it a chance. And so that was sort of the new, so I started building the new version of me, because it wasn't just me out here walking around in circles in the street and trying to figure out, if there was a diet book around here, or if there was a TV plan that was out there, I probably spent money on it and tried it. And, I did
Billy Blanks. Remember Billy Blanks back in the day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tybo.
Tybo and Beachbody and all.
Right, exactly.
I tried it. I got every little bowl and whatever. But I tried this program, and it really changed my life. In the first 8 weeks of the program, I lost 25 pounds. And the second 8 weeks of the program, I lost another 20 or so pounds. And, I got down to about 185 pounds. And that was in about March of 2021. And I've maintained that weight. I'm 185 pounds now. But I am
fighting trim, as we say, brother.
Healthier and stronger. And because when I started this thing, because of the medications and because of some of the impacts of what was going on with the meds, I had no strength at all. Yeah. I couldn't do one push-up. I couldn't run. I had knee pains. I had acne. I had, all kinds of things going on. But, since I, completely, changed my life, I drink a gallon of water a day. I eat, lean proteins and healthy vegetables. And it's, completely cleared my skin. I feel, most days, I'm still 56 and I got 56-year-old knees because I ran track for forever.
Ran track, brother.
But I can still run. I can get on that Peloton bike and spin for
there you go,
for hours at a time. But I feel amazing. And it's all because, I feel that this part of the journey, once April of 2020 hit, I've always been fighting for my life, but now I'm really in the biggest fight of my life. Because again, with all those medications that are inside of me that I take every day religiously, I have to do my part. And so I have to create the healthiest temple that I can in order for the medications to be as effective as they are. And whether it's my primary care physician, who I saw this morning, my blood pressure was 116 over 68. I love it. Or my oncologist, who every week, every 90 days that I go, he's like, looking to see what's different about me, because he is still amazed at my health transformation. I'm in the fight of my life. Yeah. And so I have got to do everything that I can to be as healthy as I can. And I don't know. And this is just one of the situations in being a person that has a disease, a life-threatening disease. I don't know from day to day what's going to happen and what's going to change and what's going to, exacerbate a situation in my body to make things change to where this disease, isn't responding, or the medications, aren't working. I've just got to continue to fight on and pray that God continues to bless me the way that he has. And I continue to get these 0.04 PSAs, but I've got to do my part. And, and that's my and that's my advocacy as well. With health, health is the key to life. I was the good time guy, hanging out and doing my thing. when I was unhealthy.
Yes.
And I think that may have contributed to some of the things that I had going on in my life. And so I still have an amazing life. I just work every day to be the healthiest version of me that I can.
Yeah, brother, this story is like, revolutionaries. You're going to be, when you hear this story, you're going to be on like the front of your seats, because like listening to that, thinking about that, how to win the fight of your life, how to win the fight of your life. And we talk about this so much on the show, bruh. Like, you have to revolt and evolve into the person that you want to be. To win the fight of your life, you have to revolt. You have to. You could not have stayed who you were and be this beacon of health that you are now. You had to say to yourself, the revolution for myself is to be healthier, right? To say, in 6 months, I'm going to be another version of myself. I have to revolt from this version of myself. And one thing that you have said throughout this whole journey is that your queen was right there with you, right? It is not easy to revolt and evolve on a journey like this. When you're fighting for your life, it sounds like that your queen, because you were right there for her, that you have been each other's support, your family.
Yes.
And thinking about that, but the choice begins with you. The choice begins with us revolutionaries, that if we're going to fight for our life, we've got to revolt from something into something else. And I love that, because you have chronicled that for us. Because it could have been easy to say, with all the yo-yos, like, what's going on? Right? We talk about our third card here on the show. You got to persevere. My father would say that all the time, right?
That's right.
This journey that you're on will be treacherous. It will be challenging. It will take all of you. But remember, you can look back and say that you've gone further than you are right now. He would say that to me all the time, Eddie. You've gone further than you are from when you started. You will have to move on if you want to win. If you're in the fight of your life, you just have to move through it.
That's right.
And I love that you have chronicled for us a story of one day, out of the blue, you're diagnosed with prostate cancer. You go through this journey, and all of a sudden, it's still there. It's still there after all this. And it can be easy to give up, but Omega men don't give up, dear brother. We don't. We fight through. We are fighting trim. And then one day through perseverance, all of a sudden the story comes is that we found it. We found why. But you still got to fight every day. And that's who we are. Oftentimes our lives as black men, we fight every day for something. Our health, our relationships, our families, our job, this country, right? You think about this. We fight for something every day. Brother, I don't even know what to say. Like, just thank you for sharing that journey, because I can take from this story that there's no giving up hope. Because I'm sure, dear brother, at some point, the only thing that you had was hope and faith and love.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, and that fuels me every day. You know, when I get down, or when I have my dark days and self-pity sort of sets in, I start thinking about my family. Yes. And I start thinking about my wife, and I start thinking about my son and my daughter and my mother and my brothers that are here. And you know, I say, this is so much bigger than me. Yes. And then I start to, you know, focus outside of me, because I still have to be here for them. You know, and so, you know, and then I look at it as well, okay, I'm going through this, but there are people that are going through far worse situations than I am. Okay. I'm one of millions of people. And so again, I'm going to fight my fight. But again, I have to be that father and that husband and that brother and that confidant and that source of strength to other individuals that are going through things as well. And I have to keep it moving. And so, being that husband and being that father, it gives them joy, to be with me and to be around me. And as long as they're happy and satisfied, I'm fine. And all I want to do is to be there to celebrate life with them, to be there when they have their high points in life. When they have their down moments, I want to be there to console them, to go through and share experiences with them. And so it makes it all worth it. And again, I thank God, for where I am right now. Because, there could have been plenty of situations where, based on decisions that I made along this way, along this 10-year journey, if I had made the wrong decision in regards to how I handled my treatment or how I handled my health, we may not have had this conversation today.
Right.
Because I have lost so many friends along the way that have been diagnosed with this disease and have transitioned on. But, again, I don't take life for granted.
No, you cannot.
The situation for granted, and I do not take my health for granted.
Not brother. Anymore. No, and as you said early in the green room, like, this is not just for you. Like, if this story can help someone else, right, as they're making decisions, or they're just diagnosed, or they have family members who have been diagnosed, and if this story right here can change someone's life, or can help them along this journey, your revolution is fulfilled. Right, your revolution is fulfilled. And so we already know that, right? When people hear this story, this is why I wanted to have you on the show, right? This is why I wanted to have my dear friend and my dear brother on the show, because there is a story, there's a revolution in this that will not only help, that will help thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who listen to this show, because at some point we know somebody who is afflicted with this disease. And as you see here, this brother has made choices with his family, so we can see. Look, we can see the 5 heartbeat right here. You know what I'm saying? We can see this right here, brother. This is what we do when we have good friends on the show. We can show our affection, by a little joke here and there. But I want to say that I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for our friendship for over 30 years, brother, almost 30 years, for pulling me out when I needed to be pulled out, to say, hey, you know what? I think we're good here. You know what I'm saying? I think we figured out all that we need to figure out. I think we're good here. Let's go be who we are. And I appreciate that. And I've always had tremendous respect for you as a person, as a human being, and as a man of Omega, because, as one of our sturdy trees, dear brother, you stand very, very tall. You stand extremely tall for us, and as we look up at you, I'm grateful to know that you've been a part of my life and in so many lives that you have touched, dear brother. And this story alone would touch so many. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like I said, if you go to EJ Rich 2, is that correct?
Yep.
EJ on Instagram, you can see some of the story. Like I said, you can see his thirst trap from last week where he's posting to see this journey. He looks good, Shout out to the good brothers of Omega Psi Phi, who, make the world go around. I just want you to know that, right? And at the recording of this show next week will be Founders Week, our Founders Day, November 17th, right? As we will come together, as we do to revel in what our founders put together. So shout out that. Thank you to Brother Ricky Lewis, our Grand Bossless, who graces us with his leadership and his presence, and moving into this space. Tremendously grateful for his words of wisdom that he gave us on the show. So thank you. Dear brother, any last words on your part?
I just want to say, to the listeners, I hope that, I have at least planted a seed, as it relates to health and fitness. Again, I've got an incredible medical team. I mentioned my oncologist, Dr. Mark Fleming, who's just amazing. And I owe so much to him. I mentioned my wife, Donna, who's my rock, my number one accountability partner. My children, EJ and Prostate, who are there and support me. And I mentioned, Jeff Witherspoon with Eager to Motivate. the last 2 years have been life-changing for me and for thousands of people that have engaged in this program and down this journey of health and fitness. And all of these things together have created, or has helped, along with the blessings from God, have helped me to become the person that I am now. Mm-hmm. I talk a lot to my friends in the fitness community about the other guy.
Yes.
You knew the other guy. I mean, I'm the same guy, but when I say the other guy, I mean the other guy physically.
Yes. Yes.
This is the newer, best version of me.
Yeah, I love that.
And I feel amazing. And I'll continue to do what I need to do as I fight to live.
There you go. I can't leave without asking you this question. My dude, my guy, my brother, my frat brother, my friend, what's your revolution?
My revolution is to be the best version of me that I can as I'm in the fight of my life.
I love it. I thank you for your time, dear brother, and we look forward to being on this journey, on this fight with you, right? Revolutionaries, as I said, is fourth quarter, and you've heard a story of resilience and perseverance and resistance. That's what I said, revolutionaries. A story of resistance. Things will happen in our lives. We will have challenges, strife, right? We will have barriers. We will have brick walls. Who are the people that you're going to bring with you as you knock down those brick walls? Who are the hammers, right, that are going to help you just destroy them as we go through the challenges of our life? Remember that we always need midwives to help bring our dreams, to help our dreams to come true. We have to revolt and evolve into the people that we want to be, to make sure that even though we endure challenges, we can be the best versions of ourselves. We can be revolutionary. I love you. I love you. Brother. I love you. We'll see you next time. Take care. Take care.
Good, brother.